the honourable member for Regina, Lewvan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The closure of the Chinese market to Canadian canola seed has been a major blow to Saskatchewan's economy. I'm proud to have been the only member of this House to have risen in March to ask the government a question specifically about canola. On March 22nd, I asked what actions the government would take to reopen the Chinese market and to support our canola producers until this situation is rectified. On the point of supporting our canola farmers, I would note that the Saskatchewan government has since called on the federal government to expand the advance payment program to provide loans of up to $1 million interest-free while this crisis persists. At the International Trade Committee meeting last Tuesday, I asked the Minister of Agriculture whether the federal government was prepared to make that enhancement to the advance payment program. Her response was essentially that the government had a working group that would meet to consider options this past Thursday. Mr. Speaker, that meeting has come and gone, and we still don't have a clear idea of what the federal government plans to do to support our farmers during this crisis. Farmers need to make decisions about what to plant and how to manage their operations. And of course, those decisions would be informed by information about what the government plans to do, whether it's to increase the loan amounts available under the advance payment program, whether it's to change or hopefully eliminate the interest due on those loans, or whether the response is going to be through some other program. Now, Mr. Speaker, the second part of my question had to do with reopening the Chinese market. On this point, I think there's been a bit of a debate between the opposition pushing for the government to escalate things to a higher diplomatic level, and the government trying to deal with it as more of a technical issue without escalating it into a bigger diplomatic fight. Mr. Speaker, without weighing in to that bigger diplomatic question, I would say that we did hear some optimistic things at the Trade Committee. One of them was that China will have a great deal of difficulty replacing the quantity and quality of canola that it received from Canada from other suppliers. That suggests to me that there is a good possibility to get the Chinese market reopened. The second reason for optimism is that Canada can try to develop some alternative markets for canola. We'd be hard-pressed to really replace the Chinese market, but I would like to reiterate the call for the government to do everything that it can do to open other markets. Mr. Speaker, a final optimistic note is that while canola seed has been excluded from the Chinese market, exports of canola oil really have not been affected. It's a sealed product. It's really not subject to the same sort of phytosanitary objections. And, Mr. Speaker, of course, there are many reasons to expand Canada's canola processing capacity, mostly to add to our economy and to create jobs in that processing sector. But I think that this latest trade dispute with China really underscores another reason to continue investing in canola processing, because, of course, the finished product, the oil, is much less vulnerable to these diplomatically motivated phytosanitary types of concerns, and I'm wondering if the government will take action on these fronts. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of International Trade Diversification.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I do want to thank my colleague for raising this important issue, and I share with him the sense of urgency that he's expressing about this matter. As you know, Mr. Speaker, canola farmers are very important to our economy. Today, Canada's canola industry contributes almost $27 billion to the Canadian economy, a contribution that has tripled over the last 10 years. This is why the canola trade issue with China is a top priority for Canada. We take this issue very seriously and are working hard to resolve the disruption of our canola trade with China. We are pushing on all fronts using every available channel on the ground, both in China and here in Canada, working closely with industry and the provinces. It's important to approach this issue on the grounds of science, Mr. Speaker. Canadian officials inspected the canola seed shipments using appropriate procedures and analysis prior to export and certified shipments as per China's import requirement. We stand by our robust inspection system and will continue to stand up for Canada's canola industry. Plant health experts from Canada and China are talking, and they will continue to exchange technical information. Our goal is to find a science-based solution to this issue as quickly as possible. The Prime Minister recently met with leaders in the canola industry to seek their input on the way forward. He stated that Canada is looking at sending a high-level delegation to China. We are very eager to sit down face-to-face with our Chinese partners. At the same time, we continue to diversify our trade in global markets to give our growers and farmers more markets to their canola and to help mitigate the risk of market closures. In the past 18 months, we signed 2 new trade agreements with some of our top markets in the world, the European Union and the CPTPP, which is the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. Mr. Speaker, with all of our trade agreements in place, Canadian canola producers have a competitive edge in 2/3 of the global marketplace. The government stands shoulder to shoulder with Canadian producers and wants to ensure that they have the support they need. This is why there are programs in place, as my colleague mentioned, designed to support farmers. For example, the Advance Payments Program provides cash advances of up to $400,000 with the first $100,000 interest-free. That helps producers so that they decide best when to market their crops. The Advance Payments Program is part of a full set of programs to help them manage risk due to severe market volatility. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, we know we need to resolve the trade issue with China. We will not rest until the situation is resolved. We are in regular and ongoing communication with the industry and all stakeholders. We are standing up for canola producers, and we will continue to do so, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
The honourable member for Regina, Lewvan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I do appreciate the update from the Parliamentary Secretary about some of the talks that continue with China. I think I would really like to focus, though, on what the government is doing or is perhaps failing to do to support our canola farmers until this situation is rectified. The Parliamentary Secretary mentioned the current parameters of the advanced payment program, loans of up to $400,000, interest-free on the first increment. But the question he really didn't answer is whether the government is willing to improve that program, whether on a temporary or a permanent basis, in response to this crisis with the Chinese market being closed. I would reiterate that the Saskatchewan government has asked for the advance payment program to be improved to provide loans for up to $1 million interest-free. If the government is willing to do that, I think it would be excellent. If the federal government is not willing to make that change, it should be prepared to explain why and to present some sort of alternative measures to support canola farmers who are currently excluded from the Chinese market. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker, and I do appreciate my colleague's question. And while I do understand the sense of urgency, and I do understand that he wants a firm answer right now, Mr. Speaker, but what I can assure him is that we continue to be in conversation with the industry. We continue to be in conversation with all stakeholders about steps moving forward, not only on how we can resolve the current trade challenge with China, but how can we continue to support our farmers. So I understand that my colleague is pushing for this question. question. We share that frustration with him. We are deeply concerned about this issue, and we will. What I want to reiterate to him is that our commitment to continue to work with farmers, producers, and all stakeholders in resolving this issue, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.